Welcome again to the Old Principle. I am the Old Principle, and we've come to another interesting story, and it's all about pictures. He who takes the sun gets everything. Okay, we're going to talk about pictures, 画作品. And this is, I don't know whether this is a famous picture or not. But the title of lesson 179, He who takes the sun gets everything. And what does that mean? Well, we're going to listen to the story and then we'll be right back to go at it sentence by sentence.
Story 179. He who takes the sun gets everything. A wealthy man and his son loved to collect rare paintings, from Picasso to Raphael. But a war broke out, and the son became a soldier. He was very courageous, but he died while rescuing another soldier. His father grieved deeply. Some time later, a young man brought him a package. He was the soldier whom the son had saved. "I'm not a great artist, but your son would have wanted you to have this." The father opened the package. It was his son's picture, painted by the man he saved. He stared in awe. The soldier had captured his son's personality in that painting. "What do I owe you?" asked the father. "Sir, your son saved my life. It's a gift." The father hung the portrait over his mantel. When visitors came, he always showed them his son before they saw the art collection. One day the man died, and in time his estate was put up for auction. Many wealthy people gathered, hoping to purchase a great painting. On the platform sat the painting of the son. The auctioneer spoke quietly. "We'll start with this portrait of the son. Who'll make the first bid?" Silence. "Will someone bid for this painting?" $100. $200? Someone shouted, "We want to see the others. Skip this one." But the auctioneer persisted. "The sun. The sun. Who'll take the sun?" The old man's poor gardener spoke up. "I'll give $10 for it." "We have $10. Who'll bid $20? "Give it to him. Let's see the masters." The crowd grew angry. The auctioneer pounded his gavel. "Going once, twice. Sold for $10. A man shouted, "Now, show the famous paintings." The auctioneer laid down his gavel. "Sorry, the auction is over." "What about the paintings?" "I am sorry. The will stipulated that only the painting of the sun be auctioned. He who takes the sun gets everything."
Welcome back. So now here we go. To begin with, a wealthy man and his son loved to collect rare paintings. Okay, a wealthy man, obviously, it has to be wealthy, 有钱人 and his son loved to collect rare paintings. Okay, of course, rare meaning very expensive, hard to get paintings. Not the average person would have it. From Picasso to Raphael. Yikes! Boy, I need help on that. These Picasso. Okay. 毕加索 Picasso. Whoa. And Raphael. I'd say it's Lafayette. Now, do you know who they are? These are very famous artists from a long time ago. That's true. A long, long time ago. And they painted beautiful pictures. In fact, well, I'm sure that it's true. But somehow I looked at some of the pictures of Picasso and I thought, well, okay. They didn't attract me so much, but people give big bucks, lots of money for that. Okay. But war broke out and the son became a soldier. War broke out, 开始战争, okay. To break out, that means war started and the son became a soldier, 士兵. He was very courageous. He was very courageous. 很勇敢. But it says he died rescuing another soldier. So 为了拯救另外一位军人，他自己就赔上他的生命. Okay? He paid for it with his life. He died while rescuing 正在救另外一位军人. His father grieved deeply. 他很悲痛. Of course, any father would grieve deeply. He's very sad. And he was grieving. Going on. Some time later, a young man came and brought him a package. 过了一段时间, a man came, a young man, and this young man brought with him a package. 一个包裹. And I'm sure the wealthy man said, well, who are you? And, it's just like that. I don't know who you are. What do you have here? And so on and so forth. He was the soldier whom the son had saved. 那位军人到底是谁？他儿子所救的那位军人. So he was the soldier whom the son had saved. I'm not a great artist. I'm sure that the young man knew about his hobby and his friend's hobby and his father's hobby. So I'm not a great artist, not like Lafayette, okay? But your son would have wanted you to have this. Okay, what does that mean? That means 你的儿子 would have wanted. 它的含义就是说, if your son were alive, if he was alive, he would want you to have this. The idea is your son is dead, but I know that he would like for me to give you this. This? Well, what is this? Okay, the father opened the package. It was his son's picture, painted by the man he saved. It was the son's picture. So apparently, the man that the son saved was also an artist. Now, he said, I'm not a great artist, but he was an artist, and I think in a situation like this, it would be extremely meaningful, wouldn't it? I mean, you've lost your son. Your It doesn't say only son, but let's say that it's the only son. And so the father is still sad. He's grieving, 非常痛苦的悲痛. So now, the father opened the package. It was his son's picture painted by the man he saved. Going on. He stared in awe. What does it mean to stare in awe? To stare at something 是瞪着看，瞪着 ，OK， 所以瞪眼睛啊。In awe， 有一点点的这个敬畏，有一点敬畏的意思呢。He stared in awe. The soldier had captured his son's personality in the painting. Okay. The painting, 他所画的画, okay. The man had captured. Well, what does it mean to capture? To capture in real life, 表面上 or 字面上 is to 捉拿. But sometimes we use the word capture to give the idea of 抓到. In this case, he captured the son's personality, 性格. So somehow the picture captured the son's personality perfectly. Now remember, the artist is the person that the son saved. Going on. What do I owe you? What do I owe you? 我现在欠你多少钱? Of course, the father was so pleased to get this picture. So pleased. Asked the father. The father asked the son. I mean the man who brought the picture. Going on. Sir, 先生, your son saved my life. It's a gift. 你的儿子救了我的生命，这个是我送给你一个礼物。Of course, you can imagine that the man was extremely grateful that the old man's son saved his life. He actually died in the process of saving the man. Go ahead. The father hung the portrait. Okay. Portrait. A portrait is usually a picture of a person. Okay. A portrait. Okay. And a picture of a person over his mantle. Okay. Do you know what mantle is? I'll explain to you what a mantle is. In many American houses, especially in the suburbs, 在郊外, they have what we call a fireplace. 壁炉, okay? And you can build a fire in there. 你可以烧火在里面. You can see the flames. You can see the fire. It's just right there. It's nice and warm during the winter, especially. And above it is a mantle. It's a ledge about, I don't know, maybe this wide. And usually important things are put there on the mantle. The father hung the portrait What does it say? Over the mantle. So this becomes the very center of, well, it becomes the center of the house. 平常是在客厅 or the family room. Or sometimes the father's study, depending on how big the house is. Okay, now, the father hung the portrait over his mantle when visitors came. He always showed them his son before they saw the art collection. So, when the visitors came, of course, why would visitors come to his house? Because they wanted to see the famous art, 有名的画作. They wanted to see all this. When the visitors came, he always showed them the picture of the son before he let them see the other pictures. Oh, wow, I'm spending so much time explaining this, I'm going to have to go a little faster. Okay, one day the man died, and in time his estate was put up for auction. Okay, his estate. Usually an estate is 他的遗产. His house, his belongings, 他含有的东西 is put up for auction. Okay, 要 put up for 要拍卖. Of course, there's a lot of very expensive things. 很多贵重的东西啊. So people would be coming. Maybe very famous people would be coming there. Okay? In fact, it says many wealthy people gathered. Okay? So this is not an ordinary auction. 不是一般的这个拍卖. Many wealthy, 很有钱的他们就来. Okay? Because they were hoping, 想要, 希望, purchase a great, 伟大的画作, an expensive painting of some sorts. Okay, so have you ever been to an auction? I have been to a few auctions. Very interesting. The auctioneer, he speaks so fast. Oh, I can hardly hear. I understand what they're saying. Going on the platform sat the painting of the sun. The first painting was the painting on the platform. 这个台上是有这个儿子的这个图画. Okay, 这个图画. Remember, this is the one that was painted by the man who he saved. Going on. The auctioneer spoke quietly. He spoke quietly. Okay, so which is unique because usually they aren't so quiet. We'll start with the portrait of the son, who will make the first bid. Okay, so we'll start with the portrait of the son. 这个儿子的图画，我们要开始. We'll start with that. 我们就开始. Of course, his meaning is, this is the first one, we will continue on. Okay, who will make the first bid? 谁要来? Okay, who will make 出价? Okay, so who's going to speak it? Normally they 这个喊叫 said, I will bid And how much money? Going on. Silence. Silence. Going on. Will somebody bid for this painting? $100, $200. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody bid. Give me a bid. $100, $200. Who will give me a bid? But, going on, somebody shouted, "We want to see the others. Skip this one. Show us the other ones. We came here for the expensive ones. We're not interested in these. 跳过去，跳过去." Going on. But the auctioneer persisted. Okay. He 坚持 persisted. Are you a persistent person? The son. Who will take the son? 儿子，那个儿子，谁要买这个儿子? Of course, nobody was interested. Nobody was interested. But, going on, the old man's poor gardeners spoke up. I'll give $10 for it. 那个老人家的这个 gardener. What is the gardener? Okay, this is the man who takes care of the gardener. He is 园丁啊. That's right, a gardener, 园丁啊. I will give $10. Remember, the auctioneer was saying, give me $100, give me $200. And finally, the old gardener, 这个园丁, he raised his hand and said, I'll give you $10 for it. Going on. We have $10. Who will make it 20? We have $10. Who will make it 20? Will you make it 30? Will you make it 40? We have $10. Ladies and gentlemen, there's $10. Who will give me 20? Obviously, nobody is bidding. Nobody wants the picture but the old gardener. Going on. Give it to him, somebody else. We want to see the masters. Okay? Give him this portrait. We want to see the expensive stuff. We came for the expensive pictures. The masters, the expensive ones. Going on. The crowd grew angry. 那群众就开始生气，不高兴。Okay? The auctioneer pounded his gavel. Gavel, 它有一个锤子，这个是 made out of wood, 是木头，木锤子 and he bang. Okay? Going once, going twice, sold for $10. A man shouted, now show us the famous paintings. Phew, we got rid of that old picture. We want to see the famous one. Show us 这个有名的这个图画画作. Going on. The auctioneer laid down his gavel. Sorry, the auction is over. The auctioneer laid down his gavel. 就把他的木锤就放下来. Sorry, the auction is over. 这个拍卖已经结束. Over? I can't believe it. Why? It hasn't even started. How can it be over? It hasn't even started. But the auctioneer said, I'm sorry, the auction is over. Going on. I am sorry, the will stipulated, okay, the will, 这个遗嘱, okay, stipulated, 规定, stipulated that only the painting of the sun would be auctioned. Only the painting of the sun would be auctioned. You understand? Only the painting of the sun would be auctioned, 被拍卖. He who takes the sun gets everything. So, the father had said only one picture was going to be auctioned off. Of course, nobody knew. So that's the reason why the old gardener got it for $10. Only after the auctioneer said, going once, going twice, sold for $10, only after that did the people find out that he who takes the sun gets everything, all of the pictures. So suddenly now the old gardener has a whole lot of very famous paintings. Okay, well that's about all the time we have for today. We have an email address. The email address is theoldprinciple@gmail.com. And we have a website. It's www.theoldprinciple.org. Hey, it's great being with you today, and we hope that you will join for another session of The Old Principle next time with a friend. See you then.